Another one of the places that I was able to go into that was deemed haunted was called Manteno State Mental Institution. Now this place is in Manteno, Illinois. It's way out in the boonies. Unfortunately now it's been torn down, it's been condemned, and unfortunately you can't get into there anymore. But when we were in there a few years back, when it was in its glory, there was 6 city blocks worth of 3-story buildings that were, all of the walls were caving in on each other. It was condemned, falling down, dusty, dirty. There was underground tunnels where you could go from building to building and never be seen because it was all underground. It was a really fascinating place. And not only is the building fascinating, the history behind it was just disturbing. All of the strange and really bad things that would happen there, a lot of shock, electroshock therapy, water hydrotherapy, all of the lobotomies that took place there, the rape, just the really bad things that could happen in a mental institution happened at Manteno. And we had been taping on a video recorder in one of the buildings that was reported to be the most haunted. And while we were videotaping, we actually captured a voice of a nurse paging a doctor from a non-existent PA system. There's not been energy or any kind of power to that building for 15, 20 years, but yet we still could hear it, and we captured it on audio tape, on videotape actually, so we have the whole video of it. And it's amazing. We've never captured anything like it since, and I think it's a one of a kind. So to me, that is one of the main places that I would consider one of my top places that I would love to go back to if I had the opportunity to.
Okay, tell us about another place, please.
Okay. Another place that I find fascinating is the Brumner Mansion in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It has so much history. It's filled with antiques. It's got a huge 3-story, gorgeous it's a gorgeous building, 3-story building with, it's a bed and breakfast. You can rent out some of the rooms there. It's beautiful. We did have a lot of activity happen there at one time or another. And some of the stories that had happened to me personally happened in the theater, which is downstairs in the basement. One of the funniest stories that I can remember is there's a bathroom downstairs in the theater, and we had just taken all of our equipment and brought it down because we were going to headquarter all of the investigation right from the theater. So we're down there, and I said to one of my teammates, I said, we really got to go to the bathroom. I'm going to use the bathroom here real quick. So I went in, did my business, washed my hands, come out, shut the door, and just as I shut the door, we heard this big bam. And I'm like, what was that? So I turned and I opened the door back up, and a can of air freshener that was on the back of the toilet was standing straight up in the middle of the bathroom floor. And I thought, wow, that is really strange. I've never experienced that before. So I went back in, tried to flush the toilet again, used the facilities, and tried to recreate it, and nothing happened. So I thought, okay, it must have been a fluke. Well, a few hours later, we were doing our investigation, and it came to be that I needed to use the restroom once again. And one of my teammates were standing there, and he says, I have to go too, so I'll just wait outside for you. So I went into the bathroom, did my business, went, washed my hands, came back out, and before I even could shut the door, we heard the bam again. We opened it up, and there stood the can of air freshener right in the middle of the floor. And my teammate looks at me, and he goes, Jen, that ghost is telling you something, baby. So it was actually a very cute story, but it was very weird and it's strange. And we tried to recreate it, and it just, you couldn't do it. So if you ever get the opportunity to go to Brummer, definitely go downstairs, check out the bathroom. Also, there's like an area that's not really well known to the public downstairs that goes into the area where the plumbing is and the electrical systems and stuff like that, not where most people would go. But we did capture an EVP back there that was really interesting to us because it was very, very clear and very vivid, and we were able to identify all of the words for it. Okay. A lot of times you will hear something, you'll be able to pick out certain words, but maybe not the whole sentence or know exactly what it's saying. But there's a process called priming. And if you are to tell somebody what you think it says and then let them listen to it again, they're going to pick it up just like that, and they will hear exactly what you tell them to hear. That's called priming, and we don't like to do that because we want people to be able to hear it for themselves and identify what they think it says rather than us telling them.
And what did the group think that the EVPs say?
The group has come to a consensus on two different wordings for the EVP that we were able to capture. One of them was, "Have you seen Grandma's wedding ring?" And the other one was, "Have you seen Grandma's rosary?" So we're not quite sure that we have the "Have you seen Grandma's," but we're not sure if it's wedding ring or rosary because the phonetics are just very similar. So, but it's fascinating all the same.
And what,
Another place that we investigated was called the Bar Next Door. Now, this place was fascinating because it had a huge history. It actually was owned by the Toohey brothers, which was arch rivals of Al Capone back in the days of Prohibition. So when the Tooheys were in town and they would actually have gunfights outside. The building is made of turrets on both sides, and the really interesting fact about this is there's windows inside these turrets. If you lift the window up, there's a little wooden plaque that would come up where they would sit their Tommy guns out there and be able to shoot. And it's just a fascinating little feature of this building. And you can actually see bullet holes in the brick mortar of the outside of the building from past gunfights that they had. But there's been a lot of different statements of different things going on here, including people seeing full body apparitions. A man in a fedora had been seen, ladies walking up and down the stairway. Our group actually captured an anomaly that we captured going from the second story down to the first story into the basement. It switched directions, went horizontally through the basement, and curved. And we had a still camera down there that took motion shots of this thing. We were able to capture 4 shots of it. It's a big ball. Some people would call it an orb, but it didn't really work as though an orb usually would work or look. And we actually clocked it doing 68 miles an hour because of the time frame of the still shots. So it was fascinating. They're on our website. You're able to take a look at them. The photos are there.